So the first thing you need to do is navigate to this thread on the DCS forums. I will place a link to this thread in the video description. Scroll down in the very first post. This is Sgt Cyanide's initial post, and you will see there are download links. Download the latest version, which currently for me is 0.02. It is late November 2017. No doubt this version number will go up. Take note of the password that he places beneath the download link. You will need that password to open the archive. Currently the password is DMP, Delta Mike Papa. Click on the link and it will take you to a Google page, and you can then download the link from Google Drive. Just hit download. It's telling me that the file is too large to do a virus scan. I'm going to download anyway. And as you can see now, my browser down the bottom left here is downloading the file. We'll be at 256 in no time at all. Good. Now I can navigate to where it is show in folder. So here we have the archive file that we just downloaded. I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to extract here. And this is where we enter the password, which is Delta Mike Papa, all in capitals. Hit OK. And now it's extracting. And it will extract the entire content of that archive to this folder here called release. Now I'm going to rename this folder and I'm going to call it the Viggen Flight Planner. The reason I'm doing that is when I copy it to DCS, where I'm going to store it, I will know what it is. So that's phase 1 complete, which is to find and download the tool itself. The next step is to take this folder. I'm going to just do a cut and I'm going to paste it into my DCS world folder. You don't have to do this, but I advise keeping it with DCS. And I'm going to paste that folder in here. So there we can now see the Viggen Flight Planner is now inside my DCS world folder. Let's go in and open up the DMP, and there is an exe file here. So I'm going to open that. And the first thing it's going to do, it's going to ask you to search for the AJS37 init file, the initialization file. Now that is stored under, let's just go to the top folder here. So it's under DCS World, it's under mods, aircraft, the AJS37, and then go cockpit, scripts, and then it is under navigation panel, device. There it is. I found it. Okay, so it's a long way down. Now, if you get lost trying to find this, there is in the flight planner, there is a documentation folder with a manual, and this has a text file, and it will also show you the path to finding the init file with some other must-dos, but we're going to talk through these anyway. Okay, so back to the tool. We've now found the file, so select it and hit open. And you will now see that the DMP, the mission planner, opens, and we have this wonderful visual map here, and we also have a few buttons. So now we have the tool installed. We can now go to phase 3, which is actually building a flight plan for your next flight. So first of all, let's have a quick look at the interface. In the center, you've got your map. On the right hand side, there's a small settings bar. You can enter a QNH and an altitude. It'll calculate a QFE for you, but this is really not used so much at the moment. We are going to use the center section, and we're also just going to use the left section. The left section will not populate immediately. First thing you should probably do when building your flight plan is just check at the bottom left that you have data cartridge 1 selected. You can select up to data cartridge 5. I'm assuming that most people will only ever load one data cartridge, so therefore make sure this is on data cartridge 1. Okay, now you need to know where you're going to be taking off from, and you must compile your flight plan before you spawn into an aircraft. So my advice would be to jump in a server, unless you know exactly which field you're going to be using. Jump into a server, check where the Viggens are located, and then come out to the flight plan builder. To zoom in and out on the map, I can use my mouse wheel. As you can see, to pan around the map, just left click and drag. And to set your waypoints, you right click. So what we're going to do is we're going to assume that we're operating from Sochi. So we're going to go find Sochi Adler, which is north of Gudata. Here it is here. And we're going to place our waypoints. To place a waypoint, use the right mouse button. So here we go, right mouse. And now we can select from this drop down. Now you need to select at least one LS point, one waypoint, and the L1 point, which is your primary landing. If you don't select a full takeoff, fly to, and landing points, I understand the flight plan will not work. So we're going to select LS at Sochi. And you can see in the left hand column now we have the first waypoint located with its north and easting and LS identified. Let's make a second waypoint over here on the little peninsula near Busby. So I'm going to right click here and I'm going to set B1. And now you can see it's drawn the flight plan between those two waypoints, and B1 is now showing on the left hand side. Now I want to select a waypoint out over the sea somewhere, so I'm just going to plop the right click here. Actually we'll go with in the middle of this square. So right click and Bravo 2, and then we're going to return to Sochi. So I'm going to right click on Sochi and select Lima 1 for the landing. So there we go, there's my triangular flight plan, and you can see the waypoints are also showing in the left hand side. The total distance of my flight, 197.2 kilometers. Now we can select a target waypoint. All you need to do is fill in this is target waypoint box here. Just select that with a tick, and that will assign that as your target waypoint. I am not going to do that for the purposes of this demo. So now that we've got our flight plan and we are happy with it, we need to export this into the ini file, or the int file that we saw earlier. And the way to do that is left click on data cartridge up here and select export to data cartridge. Now I've got a little pop-up telling me that data cartridges with invalid flight plans are 2, 3, 4, and 5. That's fine. I have not set flight plans for those cartridges. I have only set a flight plan for cartridge number 1. So I select OK. And it is telling me that we have done a successful export of the data cartridge. Now we can load up the DCS world and we can jump into a Viggen and see if we can get this flight plan to load in. Now I'm at the aircraft selection screen for the Open Conflict server, and scrolling down we will see if we can find the Viggens which are operating from Sochi, and there we are. We have 2 of them. So I'm going to select this one here, and we are going to hit the briefing and then spawn in, and we'll just wait for the player to spawn into the aircraft. Okay, we're in. I'm going to get my flashlight here Now, there's a couple of things we need to do. First of all, bring up the kneeboard, and I'm cycling through the pages on the kneeboard until I get to this screen here. This is the ground crew settings, and I need to change this row here where my cursor is so that it says data cartridge selected 1, because cartridge number 1 is the cartridge that we exported from the flight planning tool. So what you need to do is, if you don't have this bound already, go to select data cartridge down and select data cartridge up. Those are the key bindings to change that number. For me it is left alt left control C and left control left shift C. It cycles through 1 2 3 4 5 2 3 4 5s blah blah blah, so you don't need to actually assign both. So left control shift C, and you'll see now it is on data cartridge number 1. I'll just cycle through 2 3 4 5 and that's 5. So now we can go back down. Actually it doesn't cycle through, you will need to bind both. There we go, data cartridge 1 is selected. Now I can close the kneeboard. I'm now going to go through the standard startup so that we can get the computer turned on. I'll try and do this relatively quickly. Wrong switch there. Okay, just waiting for the machine to boot itself up. Once the engine's up, then we're going to insert the cartridge as per normal. Just turn some cockpit lighting on so we can see the instruments. Get everything on full whack, and I'm just waiting now for the computer to boot up so that I get my number display. There we go, the computer's now on. So let's zoom in a little bit, and we're going to do the standard method for loading in the cartridge. So over to the back here, click on the cartridge carriage, cartridge casing, and move the computer around to the ref Lola position, select in. So this is the standard method for loading a cartridge, 9099 and LS SKU. Now we just wait for that to load the cartridge, and there we go, it should be loaded. We can now go back to the output position, and we can either go to TACT or ACT-POS, or go to TACT, doesn't really matter so much. Okay, so now the cartridge should be loaded. I'm just going to tell the computer that I'm at LS SKU. Okay, and we've also got LBS showing there, which I think is okay. Let's hope so. Now, I'm going to check the kneeboard again. And you'll see that if we go back to the start of the kneeboard, the waypoints will not be showing for me. So it still thinks I've just got a takeoff point. And you'll notice the flight plan is not showing on my map here. That's nothing to be alarmed about, because I can do a little sense check for my waypoints. So I'm going to take the F10 map, and then out of Sochi I know that my first waypoint was going to be on this tip, which should be about 129 degrees. So if I hit waypoint 1 on my computer here, then we'll go to nav, by the way. Okay, it's working now. If we hit waypoint 1, so it looks like we do need to be on the ACT-POS setting. I'm not sure why that didn't immediately work. But if I hit B1, you can see it's going to send me on about 130 degrees. If I go B2, it's going to send me down on about 190 degrees from my current location, which would put me down here. So we know that that is actually the waypoint 2 that I set earlier, and then waypoint 3 does not exist. Landing waypoint is sending me over here, which is probably okay, as is LSSKU. So it's pretty obvious to me that I've got 2 waypoints loaded in, and the waypoint markers were pointing in the correct direction. So I am pretty confident that my waypoints have in fact loaded in. Now let's say I want to change my flight plan. So what I need to do is leave the aircraft entirely. You cannot create, export and load a new cartridge from the cockpit. So go to the aircraft positions. Let's look for another Viggen here. Gudata. There are 2 Viggens at Gudata. So I'm just going to select one of them. That'll take me out of the cockpit. Now I'm going to go back to the waypoint / flight planning tool. And we're going to build ourselves a new set of waypoints from the tool. So we're going to delete everything we've got, and we're going to go to Gudata, which we know is going to be our spawn field. It's on the coast south of Sochi, around about here somewhere. No, that's Sukhumi. Gudata, there it is. And we're going to start again. So right click for LS, and then I'm going to go due north up to the mountains somewhere. We'll say let's pick a waypoint up here. That'll be B1. And then we'll go over to the coast, B2. Then we'll go due west of the field, B3. So I'm right clicking. B4 will be due south, and then we'll fly home, and that will be L1. So now we have LS 1, 2, 3, 4, and landing. Going to go data cartridge and export this. And remember, we're on data cartridge number 1. So I'm going to export back over number 1. We are successful. Let's now spawn at Gudata and see if the waypoints will load in a new Viggen. So just checking again that this is a Gudata spawn. And once again, we just need to wait for the aircraft to spawn in. And here we are at Gudata. Turn the flashlight on once again, go through the startup procedure. Sounds like we've got flak firing. Okay, aircraft is spooling up. So waypoint 1 should be to the north, waypoint 2 should be to the northwest, waypoint 3 should be to the west, and then the south, and then we have the final one. So this is our little sense check we're going to do on the navigation system, just to make sure the waypoints are correct to the flight plan. Turning up the lights again, wait for the computer here. Aircraft is spooling up. You've just seen the computer flick itself on. So I can enter the cartridge. No, we nearly skipped a step there. We need to go to the kneeboard, and we need to check that the kneeboard is showing cartridge number 1. There it is, cartridge 0. So that would not have worked. So we need to go cartridge number 1. So now it is showing. Close the kneeboard and load the cartridge. Now we tell the computer to start reading the cartridge. It's the 9099 LSSKU code. Wait for the zeros up there. Good. Excellent. Now we can turn that off. We can go to the act position. And we'll just wait a few seconds, and now we'll start checking these waypoints. So it took a while for the last one to just let this radio call finish. Okay, let's check waypoint 1 now. We'll check that we're on the nav over here. Waypoint 1, that should be almost due north, and as you can see the waypoint marker is just slightly west of 0. Waypoint 2 should be northwest. Perfect. Waypoint 3 should be pretty much west. That's showing 270. Waypoint 4 should be pretty much due south. That's 180. So there we go. We have loaded in a new flight plan for a new aircraft. So that is how we use the tool that has been provided and built by Sgt Cyanide. This is an absolutely fantastic tool for the Viggen in DCS. I highly recommend that people put a note of thanks to Sgt Cyanide on the thread for creating this tool, and I will be using this a lot in future Viggen missions. As usual, everyone, thanks for watching, and of course the biggest thanks here go to Sgt Cyanide for his work on the flight planning tool.